Hello everyone, so in this video, let us talk about for loops, while loop and how to initialize them and how you can work upon them in Golang. So we will start with the very basic implementation of a for loop. So for that, why not just create a function, because we have also learned about functions in our previous video. So let us create a function to print out factorial, and for creating out or finding out factorial, we use a for loop. So we can just use a function. Let us name it factorial. It will take as an input an integer, and it will also return an integer, that is the factorial. What it will do, it will initialize the factorial as 1. You can initialize it for 1, and then you'll do a for loop. Now the basics of a for loop is that it will continuously loop around a particular condition. So let's say that you have to, or like any for loop has three basic parts. The first one is initialization, for which, or like through which we will do a for loop. So let's say we'll use I. So we'll initialize variables like this only, that we have done, or the code as of now. Initialize it with 1. Then the condition, so I is less than equal to x, and then I plus plus. So this is the condition part, and the last one is the increment part, like how much the for loop should be incrementing at each step. After that, what we'll do is that in the factorial, what we'll do is that answer is equal to answer into I. Okay, so let's say that we have to find out factorial of 5. So 5, so I'd say start with 1. So 1 into 2 into 3 into 4 into 5. So it will continuously do a for loop, and for every I, so I will start from 1, then it will increment by 1. So I, from 1 it will become 2, then from 2 it will become 3, and whatever I is there, I will multiply it answer in the answer. So it will keep on appending the, in the multiplication appending. So it will be 1, 2, in each step it will be like, the next step it will be 2, in the next step it will be 3, and it will keep on multiplying it with the answer. And then you can just print out or return out the answer, that is the factorial part. Okay. Now what we'll do is, let's say that we want to print out whatever is the factorial of, let's say 5. So we can just use the fmt package to print line. It will be imported here, and I will just call this factorial function with, let's say 5. So it will just call this factorial function with x equal to 5 and just return the answer. So let us check out what is the answer. And answer is 120. So the factorial of 5 is 120, and that is running out perfectly fine. Okay, let us now talk about while loops. So in while loops, there is no particular keyword for while. Like in other languages, you have a while loop. So we have for loop here. So there is no specific while loop keyword through which you can do while loop. But eventually, what is a while loop? While loop is a, you can say a for loop only with a given condition. So every loop has these three things. Okay, initialization, condition, and the increment. Okay, while loop also has that, but in different order. So we'll do initialization beforehand. So let's say that we want to just let's say we want to find out the sum of first 5 numbers. Okay, so what I'll do is that, let's say I have to initialize the answer. So let's say I'll first find out the answer. So answer is initialized to 0 because I want to find out the first 10 numbers, or let's say first 5 values. Then what I'll do is that I will increment or like initialize a value, let's say through which I will iterate over. So let us name it, let's say x only, which is equal to 1. So it will start from 1, and then I will do a while loop. Now I will do a while loop till x, or not, sorry, we cannot do a while loop. For loop, we will only do a for loop till x is less than, let's say 10. So what we have done here is that we have done a for loop only without the initialization and the increment part. So initialization is done above, and the increment will be done inside this for loop only. So what we will do, with answer, we will plus equal the x value, and then for every step we will just increment x. So what it does is that it will keep on incrementing x in each step till it is less than 10, and then keep on appending the answer in the answer, and then you can just do an fmt print line of this answer, and you can check out what's the answer. So answer is 45. That is the sum of the first 9 numbers, because when it becomes 10, it will break out. If it's equal to 10, then I think so the last number will also be added, and it is 55. That is the sum of the first 10 numbers. Okay, so that is how a while loop is implemented. Now coming down to the next thing, let us come down to a very like generic use case of for loop is to iterate over some elements inside some, you can say, an array that you have initialized. So this is an array of integers, and it just throws out 5 factorials, the value of the first 5 factorials. So let's say 1, 2, 6, 24, and 120. You can just like assume any array you have, and now let's say you want to do a for loop over this array and just print out the values inside it. So what's the very basic simple way? Just use this syntax only that we have learned here. Okay, let us take this only, print it out. Let us paste it here. What we'll do is that because the indexes in the array start from 0, which we have told you, so let us start from 0, and then we have to iterate over the length of this fact array and I plus plus, and then what we'll do is that we'll just do fmt dot println, and let us print out the integers given some space. Let us just move out print, and let us print out fact of I, and that's it. Yep. So what you can see is that we are just doing our print line, like a print of the the 5 numbers inside this fact array. Let us check it out, and as you can see that all the 5 numbers are printed here using this for loop. Very good. That is running perfectly fine. So this is one of the formats. So you can just say that this is the format. So format 1. Okay. Now there is also an important, or you can say a smaller type of format that is used instead of doing this. In this, we have the full control. By full control, I means we done the initialization, we done the length, we have the increment type, all of that. But let's say that you have this array, and or like any array you have, and you have to iterate over the complete array. Okay, you don't have to just iterate over the first 2 points or any point. Let's say if I just do fact minus 1, I have the complete freedom to just iterate over the first 4 numbers or first 3 numbers, whatever I want. But in this, let's say you want to just iterate over all the numbers. Okay, you have the condition. So you have a very generic type of syntax also, like a smaller syntax in which you just write on for, and then you have to write on I and value. So what you might be asking what I'm doing here, and then I use range. I'll just tell you in simple term, but then I'll just write on the syntax, then it will become operative. So, and then just print out this with D, and the first one is, let's say, I, and the next one is well. Okay. Now what I've done here is that in the first format, or if you just look at any array, the array has 2 things. Okay, the number itself, the value itself, and the index corresponding to that. What I mean by this is, let's say the first value is the index 0, the index 1, the second value, the third value is index at 3, index 3, and so on. So these are the indexes. So for any array that you have 2 things: the ith point at which I am on, and the value at that particular point inside the array. So what you can actually do is that you can actually use a for loop using this range keyword. You can iterate over the whole complete array, and then you can manipulate or use the you can access the data inside the array using, because there are only 2 values: the I, the index that I'm on, and the value itself. So what you can actually do is that this I and value will just return those particular things. So let us just see out. So I've just iterated over using a for loop on this fact array only, and now I'm just printing out these values. So let us do this actually instead of this print line. Okay, or you can just also do like this. Oops, okay, yep. So, yep, what you can observe now is that, okay, this is mixed there. So let us just do a facility print line directly here. Yep. So what you can understand is after this, there is this complete for loop that starts from 0. Now here, so this is the first element, the second element. So the elements are on the right hand side, and the indexes corresponding to them on the left hand side. So what you can directly observe is that I've just printed out the element and their corresponding indexes in just the smaller syntax of for loop. Okay, we don't have access to all the things, but you can just directly iterate over the complete array, and it is very simple to iterate over through also. So that is a simpler syntax. But let's say that I just want the values. Okay, I don't want the index. Because in this I am getting the I value also. And let's say if I don't use the I value, let's say I just use this, then it will not actually get me compiled. It will give the error because I is declared but not new. So Golang has this property that if you are declaring something, you have to use it. Okay, So if I'm not using I just, so let's say like I have the use case in which I just want to print the values in the above scenario. I don't want the index, okay, just to be printed out. So in that scenario, I cannot like get out of this condition. So maybe what you think is, okay, just remove what I don't want remove what I from here as well, and just remove what here as well. Okay, let us print it out now. What you'll observe is that it just printed out 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it just extrapolated, or just think about that this is the index, because what we have understood is that there are two values. Okay, there is I and val. So the first value is the index. If you just remove out that, this will assume that the first value is index, and it will just assume it to be just, you are asking just print out indexes. So it will just print out index, it will not print values instead. So which actually means that if I just remove out I will eventually get indexes, not the value. So how I can get value? By not also using the I value. So which I've told you in previous examples also, that if you do not want to use anything in Golang, but you have the use case to put it there, just put a placeholder for that. And the placeholder is an, you can say, underscore. So underscore just means that there should be a value there, but I am not putting it there because I have no use of that. But because the Golang wants that value to be there, I'm just putting a placeholder for that. And then I can just remove, like safely remove I, because now I doesn't have any slice here. And then if I just go down and just run the program again, and then now it is just printing out the values from the fact array, and nothing is there. So that is why these things are important, that you just have to understand that what is the use case. Okay, like whether we want this value or this value or any value. So these are some of the formats that we required to iterate over any array, or that is how you can work about with loops in Golang. So I hope you understand something out of it. If you understand, just hit the like button on this particular video. I will see you in the next one. Take coding, and bye.